Good morning, welcome to Fairy and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about dogs howling in their sleep. If you've never heard your dog do this, you're in for a shock because it's absolutely chilling. It happened to me last night, not me, one of my dogs did it. It was Albert here, my little white one. He did it in his sleep. Now he's 10 and he's always done it, and he only does it maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, so it's not very often. And even though I know why he's doing it, he's trying to make himself comfortable. My sofa isn't comfortable enough for him. He needs to make it cozier. I know why he does it, but even though I know why he does it, it's still absolutely chilling. And he did it last night. He's never done it during the day. He's only ever done it in the depth of night. And it's like, well, it's a howling, which is quite odd because he's not a howling breed. I suppose if it was a husky or something, it might not be so alarming, but he's not a howling breed. And it's like a howl, but rather than being, you know how a howl is quite high pitched, it comes from their guts. It's like guttural. It comes from their guts, and it comes from their guts, and it's like a noise I've never ever heard in my life before. And there is something about it that's terrifying and absolutely chilling. And for some reason, you can't quite tell where it's coming from. So if you're fast asleep, which I always am, and it happens, you don't, like last night when it happened, and my bedroom window was open, and for some reason it sounded to me like it was coming from underneath the bedroom window. So it sounded to me like it was outside the bedroom window. It wasn't, and it took me so it wakes you up instantly, because when you hear something that chilling, you wake up fast and you wake up good and proper. And so first of all I thought it was outside the bedroom window, which was terrifying, and then I realised no, it was to my left, which meant that it was Albert. So he was sleeping outside my bedroom door on his bed, so quite close to the bed. And then I realised it was him, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And I was able to calm myself down and go back to sleep. So the thing that I found out about it is, so I researched it many, many years ago, and I've researched it a few times since, just in case they've found out anything new about it, or if anything has changed on the research of it. They don't really know why it happens. They're not exactly sure why it happens, but definitely some dogs do it and some dogs don't do it. It is quite rare for a dog to just do it once in his life and then never do it again. It's sort of something they do. Now, you know how dogs dream? Again, not all dogs dream. Some dogs dream and some dogs don't. But so little Albert here, he's a dreamer. He dreams. And it isn't the same as when they dream. So when they dream, they might even bark in their dream. So they bark kind of quietly, don't they? And they might even like whimper a little bit, but it's all sort of almost under their breath. And sometimes they'll be like, their legs will be moving and they'll be running. It's not that. It's nothing like that. It's chilling. It's the only way I can describe it, is chilling. And if there is no way you would be thinking to yourself, oh, I wonder if that's what my dog did. No, you will know, because you would have been terrified. You will know. In my experience, the dog, when Albert does it, he doesn't do the running with his legs. He's just dead still. Now, the thing that I found out is, and I think this is really important, is that you shouldn't wake them up while it's happening. So I used to wake him up while it was happening and reassure him, and because he kind of was a bit like, heart was going fast, and comfort him and quieten him down. And I also used to do that if he was just dreaming. Or Harry sometimes over there, he dreams. Humps doesn't, thankfully, because I dread to think what terror would be in his dreams. Thankfully, he doesn't dream. But what I found out was that you shouldn't wake them up, whether it's dreaming or whether it's the howling at night. And that is because their brains work exactly the same way as us. So you know how our brains work, that you dream because it is your brain basically filing away your memories and kind of working out what you need to keep, what memory you need to keep, what memory you don't need to keep, put it in the back of your brain and stuff like that. And there's an awful lot going on, and you know, like with PTSD, that is basically what your dream does is, your dream, it gives you the memory of it, but it takes away the emotion. With PTSD, what can happen is that the brain is so traumatized by the experience that it can't split the memory up from the emotion, and so every time you redream that, you have the same amount of emotion attached to it as you did in the beginning. But this isn't what's happening with dogs. It's not a PTSD dream. Just because it's howling and it sounds terrifying, it isn't a PTSD dream. It is just, they're not even completely convinced that it's a bad dream. They're not convinced of that. They don't know if it's just, it could be barking at like a cat or another dog or something like that. Although it doesn't sound like barking, it's howling. So don't be worried that your dog is suffering while it's happening, because they're not convinced that is the case. But it is really important that you don't wake them up during it, because the brain is working away and sorting through memories and putting them in the right place in the brain and making it all work. And we need to dream, and dogs need to dream. We need to, because that's how the brain sorts out the memory and what should be remembered and what shouldn't be remembered, and what isn't as scary as we thought it was, and all that kind of stuff. And it's really important for dogs that they're not woken up during dreams, which I did for years. I used to wake any of my boys up if they were dreaming, but now I've stopped doing it. I used to talk to them as well. Sometimes I wouldn't ever touch them just in case they got confused and whatever, but what I used to do was I used to talk to them until they woke up enough, and then when I knew they were awake and they knew it was me, then I would stroke them and calm them down. But I don't do that at all now. And first of all, I found it really, really hard to just completely ignore one of my dogs and they were having a nightmare. But the more research I did, the more I learned that it's necessary for when they're awake for them to just have better mental health. And so now I just let them have it. I stand by, I'm watching just to make sure everything's okay. But I let the dream and all the howling, I let it just flow through, and actually it doesn't last that long really. It happens quite quickly and it's over, and it is hard to ignore them. And I know some of you are going to comment and say, I would never leave my dog having a bad dream, but it's the best thing to do, because their brain needs to sort things out and put things in the right place, and so when they're awake, it is the best thing to do for them. So it is hard. I know it's hard, and I know people are going to say I couldn't do that, but it's really worth trying it. And you know, just Google it, should you wake a dog up during a dream, and you'll see on there that they really advise that you don't. So it happened to me last night, and I thought I've got to talk about this, because if people hear it for the first time and you haven't got a clue what happened, the first time it happened with Albert, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. First of all, it took me and my husband a while to work out, was it him? So we both sort of sat bolt upright in bed, and we were like, did that come out of Albert? I think first of all we were like, is there a fox in the back garden? It was terrifying in just trying to work out what the sound was, and then realising that we think it came out of Albert, and we didn't really believe it the first time. We were like, no, it couldn't have done that. It didn't, and we didn't really believe it. And then it happened again, like I think it was like 6 months later, and we were like, oh, you know, it is him. It is coming out of him. And but it's really alarming, really, really alarming, and it's scary, and it is, you know, it is. And when Albert wakes up from it, so I leave him to do it. I'm close by, but I'm leaving him to do it. And then when he wakes up and he's completely awake, and I know I can go in, and then I sort of comfort him, and he calms down. But he looks a little bit like, what on earth was that? And we're all like, what on earth was that? But yeah, it's not nice. But something that you might encounter as a dog owner. You might not. You may never have any of your dogs do it. You might get lucky on that front, because it's horrible, really horrible. I don't know if some dogs do it during the day. Like I said, Albert only does it at night, and he only ever does it when I'm in the depths of sleep. So like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning when you're really deeply asleep. Never done it during the day, but it doesn't mean they don't. I'm sure some will, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure if they will or not. Let me know if, can you let me know if your dog does this? And if you let me know if they do it during the day, I'd be interested to know that, if they ever do it during the day. And just, yeah, if you ever hear it, hopefully you'll have watched this video and you'll be like, oh no, it's okay, I know what that is, because it's chilling. I haven't got anything else to say on it. It was really scary, and it took me quite a while to go back to sleep. And I sleep really, really well. And I woke up, and it takes you a while to go back to sleep, because It's so chilling that your brain wakes you up. It wakes you up properly, so you are ready to jump into action. So it takes a little while to go back to sleep afterwards. I hope you never, if you've never had it, I hope your dog never does it. I hope you never have it, but it is a thing. So that's it. Are you all right, Pickle Boy? You don't have them, do you, darling? You don't have them, do you, sweetheart? You don't. You do have some dreams sometimes, don't you? But it sounds more like you're running in meadows and things in your dreams. So I think you're quite happy with your dreams, aren't you? Okay then, as usual on the socials, you know where I am. Subscribe if you haven't, you know all the business. Any questions at all about this, pop them into comments, I'll help you, or you know, DM me on Instagram or wherever you want to, you know, I'm all over the place. You can all contact me at different places. And hope that you and your dog hope your dogs have a lovely day, and I hope that they do not do this howling in their sleep, and we will see you in the next video. Bye bye.